The four
Yes,
major
ma'am.
approaches, yeah, synthetic phonics, analytic, logic-based, embedded. So we'll quickly go through this because this we have, I think, already discussed. Synthetic phonics is most direct and structured, where the you can say instructions is based on like moving from phonemes to words, from the smallest unit to the major one, right? The bigger one. So blending and building approach, phonemes and graphemes taught in isolation, and this is least contextualized, though it is, you can say, the most structured one compared to other phonics, you can say, approaches. Yeah, the other approaches to phonics instruction, I meant to say. Then we have analytic phonics. This is implicit and integrated. Like if we just take example of the way we teach grammar, right? A kind of, you can say, if we integrate. So we often have this, you can say, question about teaching grammar in isolation or integrated, right? So phonics, the one we discussed before, synthetic phonics. So like phonemes, graphemes, everything is taught in isolation, and this is something that is supposed to be more systematic. But here in analytic, it's more kind of, you can say, implicit, coming from the word implied, okay, and integrated rather than teaching in isolation. And it's kind of, you can say, from bigger to smaller, right? Words to parts. So word is broken into its smaller units or smaller parts. Whereas in synthetic, what we do is we build up from phoneme, the smallest unit to, and then we follow a kind of a hierarchy. Phoneme to, we go on to rhyme and onset and syllable and word. Okay. So it focuses on deconstructing words to identify phonemes. So a word is kind of, you can say, broken, okay, deconstruct. Rather than constructing from phonemes, it is, you can say, deconstructing words to identify. Like we break words into syllables, isn't it? And then again, it is broken into, we have, okay, so here, onset and rhyme. So we'll learn about this also today. So sounds learned as parts of words. Okay. So focusing more on the word and then breaking it into parts and then finally coming to sounds and then making children learn that yes, so sounds are parts of a word. Okay. The third one, analogy-based phonics. This is again a kind, you can say, quite similar to analytic because this is a branch of analytic phonics. So again, here it's words to parts, right? So words are broken into smaller parts coming to phonemes. Focuses on using similar words or word families to build reading vocabularies. So, like in language conventions, and you can say your understanding about words, what we usually do with older students, we kind of, you can say, give them word families, okay, in order to build their reading vocabularies with one word. When we introduce, okay, a word that is quite similar or coming in the same family, so a kind of, you can say, building up of their vocabulary happens. So this is something happens here as well. So embedded phonics, it's not systematic or explicit, okay, and letter sound relationships taught during reading of connected text. So uh, most of the researchers in a way kind of tells that with this kind of, you can say, approach, if you are teaching students, you can say, phonics for the first time, children are just introduced to the letters and sounds. So if we you can say apply this approach, what happens is it depends on how and when the teacher introduces children to this, the different kinds of phonemes and all, because this is, you can say, something that is based on what we call reference to context. Say suppose reading class is happening, a teacher is reading a story, the children, they are taught reading. So the teacher in a way feels that okay, yeah, now we got a word, which we need to introduce to the children. Okay, how it has to be broken down into the smaller parts. So it's like waiting for a teachable moment only, right? So connected to text. So this is not systematic; it's embedded. Okay. So emphasizes importance of learning through context and ongoing exposure to words. So I can say somehow like the sight words and all. So these are like the you are being exposed to those words, and when you feel that okay, these are the words, and then the teacher focuses on those words, and then all the things, right? The parts, the syllables, onset rhyme, everything is taught based on the context. And so that is why this method or this approach is most contextualized, because you kind of relate. Okay, it has, you can say, deals with the words that the children are exposed to, right? But it is least structured. It doesn't follow a proper structure, or you can say a systematic way, right? So, what phonics instruction does is it helps children learn the relationships between the letters of written language and the sounds of spoken language. So, that is why it is very important. uh, Which one I'm just focusing on is phonics instruction, right? Phonics instruction is very important, okay, when it comes to help your children develop reading skill, their spelling as well, okay? So, because in a way, it helps children learn the relationship between the letters. So, the letters that they are able to see in print and how it has to, you can say, to be read, the spoken, the sounds that the language in a way is expected to have in a way, right? So leads to an understanding of the alphabetical principle, the systematic and predictable relationship between written letters and spoken sounds. So that is why it's very important, because we actually in the alphabet we have just 26 letters in the English alphabets. And how many words can be formed with just those 26 letters? So it's very important for children to understand that each letter, though they are just 26 letters, they are in a way representatives of so many phonemes, so many sounds. Okay. So it's effective when it is carried out systematically and explicitly. And what it does is improves children's word recognition, spelling, and reading comprehension. So how we move on, right? From the basics, phonemic awareness, then phonics, then we move on to the fluency, vocabulary, and then the reading comprehension. Okay? The parts of, you can say, reading, the levels. So this helps in students, you can say, not just their word recognition skills, but spelling as well as reading comprehension.